Welcome everyone. As you're entering the room, we're just going to give a few seconds to have everyone enter and get your audio connected, and we will get started in a minute.
Okay, and as we are waiting for everyone to come in, I am going to drop a link in the chat box. If you want to visit that as we're waiting for people to come in and participate in that, it's a little activity. Okay, and if you would like to introduce yourselves in the chat box, let us know your name, where you're coming from, anything you would like to share. And then again, there's that link in the chat box if you would like to visit that. Little fun thing to do as we wait. So we'll give you a couple minutes to take the poll. Hi, Ramona. Oh, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for coming. So if you want to take a minute, introduce yourselves. Thank you for coming on a Tuesday night in December. We really appreciate it. And if you are interested, go ahead and click on that Draw a Stickman link. It'll take you to an outside website and you can explore that. Everyone.
It
Harford
looks
County,
like
Prince George's County. Good.
It might just be going
Howard
to
County.
Stephanie. I think that was just going to panelists and hosts, so I put it in for everyone, so they should
Thank
see
you so much.
Yeah,
I fixed that on my end. Thank you. Digital literacy learning moment. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so just a couple of reminders.
Very good.
That we are recording, so this will be available for you after and for your teams afterwards. And also, if you are using the chat box, which we highly encourage, so that you can engage with each other and our presenters, please make sure that you're choosing the to everyone line instead of just to hosts and panelists. So thank you.
Oh, I like that. Inspiring. Very nice. Hello. All right, well, thank you all for coming. Again, if you can take a minute to just go to that link and try that out if you have a minute to do so. And I think, ready, Jen? Ready to?
Sure.
I think we're ready.
All right, well, I'm going to jump back in for a second. So thank you for attending our Tuesday night session of the Maryland Virtual Training Institute. We're so happy that you're here. My name is Ellen Beatty. I'm the Chief of Adult Instructional Services here at the Maryland Department of Labor. And I am thrilled to bring you Teacher Think Tank, Implementing Maryland's Digital Literacy Framework. As you probably know, we are very proud of the Maryland Digital Literacy Framework. It has been highlighted on a national level. It was just an article in the recent COABE journal on digital literacy, and we're just so proud of the team at the state and the work group that put that fantastic document together, the framework and the implementation guide. So I am thrilled to be able to bring you Jennifer Bonsteel and Stephanie Smith tonight to be putting that into action for us. So with that, I'm going to pause and I'm going to turn it over to Jen and Steph to get us started.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. So as Ellen mentioned, I'm Jennifer Bonsteel. I'm an ESL instructional specialist.
And I am Stephanie Smith. I'm an ESL instructor, and I've taught ESL for over 7 years now. We are both in the Worcester County Public Schools Adult Education Program. So we cover Berlin, Ocean City is what most people will know. We are right on the Atlantic Ocean, down on the Eastern Shore. So that's where we are coming to you from. We have a very diverse population and a lot of, J1 workers stay. So we come from an ESL point of view, but we're going to try to make it adaptable for everyone, every adult learner.
Yeah, everything that we're going to talk about tonight can be easily translated to ABE.
And that's a perfect way for me to segment back in to attempt to launch our poll so that we can see exactly who is with us tonight. So the question. It's just one question. What is your role within your program? We can see who's with us. Okay, some people might be on the road and commuting, so it looks like we have about 60% of us checking in, and you guys certainly do draw the ESL instructor crowd.
Very nice. Hello, others. But don't worry,
Hello,
ABE
friends.
instructors, we have ABE things in here also.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay, so our objectives this evening are to identify and define the elements that make up the digital literacy framework and share with you some of our favorite ways that we incorporate them into instruction.
And our big thing that we want to really bring to you today is practical and approachable ways to implement the digital literacy framework. And we want to hear from you. So this is the think tank. You're the community of experts. You're out in the field with your students every day. Well, most of you, we saw we had a lot of instructors in here. So we're really looking forward to hearing your ideas. We are going to share a lot of practical ideas with you, a lot of links. Don't have to write down any URLs. We do have a Wakelet if you want to scan this QR code, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat box. So if you need to, you can just, if you are on the computer, you can use your phone, just open it up to the camera, scan the QR code, it'll take you to the Wakelet, or link in the chat box, and that'll be up for as long as the internet is, hopefully. So you can go there and visit anytime. So you don't have to take any notes.
Yeah, and as Stephanie said, we're just going to own it. We created this presentation to not so, sort of selfishly say, well, we need to find out what else is out there. So we're really looking forward to hearing your ideas and borrowing them for our classrooms. So we're really excited to share with you what we have to say, but also to hear what you guys have to contribute. Okay, so starting from the beginning, digital literacy. It's the technology skills and cognitive processes necessary to empower our students to find, analyze, use, and communicate information. And that's going to look different for our different students depending on where they're starting. But there is absolutely no student in your class that doesn't have something to learn. And all of our learners can benefit from improved digital literacy skills. And just want to chime in, you might have a student that is a tech whiz with their smartphone, but is really uncomfortable on a laptop or vice versa. You might have a student that's completely reluctant to try any new technology, and you might have someone who thinks they know it all, but there's always something to be learned. So no matter where your students are, there's always something to add. And tonight is about reaching them where they are and helping them grow along their journey. Okay, so the documents. First off, Ellen mentioned the group at the state that created these documents, and Stephanie and I have to confess, we were not involved in this, the writing of these documents. We're just big fans. So the digital literacy framework is the one you see on the left, and that is the 7 elements in our focus that we're going to be talking about tonight. But there's also the instructor implementation guide, which includes lesson plan ideas and links and resources for implementing the framework into instruction. So both great documents, but we're going to be focusing on the framework itself this evening.
And I have uploaded both of those PDF files to our Wakelet. So if you're interested in taking some of the ideas, learning more, looking through it, right there on the Wakelet for you. Okay, so what is the digital literacy framework? There are 7 interconnected elements. So first, I'm going to ask you, if you're familiar with the DLF, please write your favorite one. Jen and I were talking about our favorites earlier, and it made me a little curious. So if you have a favorite element of the DLF, and I realize I'm getting very excited about this, but if you have a favorite, civic, that's interesting. And if you want to tell us why it's your favorite too, or you could wait till we get to civic, whichever you prefer. Productive is Jed's, yep. Computation, oh, that's a good one. I love how we have all different ones so far. My personal favorite is investigative. So it's That's interesting. So far, 4 different ones.
Oh, there we go.
The 7,
Another.
oh, you guys, that's awesome. So if someone's technical, so the 7 of them are technical, civic, communicative, collaborative, computational thinking, investigative, and productive. So I'm really, really happy to see the variety of answers for favorites. And maybe as we go through, you can let us know when we get to your favorite, why it's your favorite. Okay, so there are a lot of benefits to the DLF, and I have seen them in my own classrooms and within our program. It improves academic performance. So doing online activities really increases their engagement. They are more invested in learning the content material. There are more ways to reach learners, and it really prepares learners for the workforce and for life in the community. So within my own classes, we've done things like apply for library cards online and look at library resources. I have a lot of students that work in kitchens. So they had the technical skills of learning how to read like the tickets on the screen, learning how to clock in and out. So there's a lot, and like Jen mentioned earlier, trying to reach your learner specifically. So we hope you can adapt our ideas to really reach your learners and see those benefits in your classroom.
Okay. So we just wanted to take a minute to just share. Steph and I both come from the K-12 like public school system originally, and there's a lot of really scary, overwhelming curriculum documents that you sometimes come across in those lower levels. And the DLF is not that. It's very accessible, it's very clean, it's very organized. And so we just wanted to just encourage you, if you haven't looked through it, to really give it a shot, and you might be pleasantly surprised by how accessible it really is.
I want to be the first one to admit that I was one of the teachers who was very scared when this first came out. And Jen did such an excellent job of helping the teachers see how practical and approachable it was, and also helping us see how we already do it in our classroom. And it's not all this extra lesson planning you have to do. It's really just about enhancing your lessons. So we really wanted to bring that to everyone and see what practical and approachable ideas you have.
Also, plus I learned you can do 3D animations in PowerPoint.
This was a digital literacy learning moment for us. We have a lot of these. So see, as teachers, I felt maybe I was a little too old and not as tech savvy as I had to be to teach digital literacy. And this whole thing helped me realize how wrong I was about that idea. And I hope we can help anyone who's feeling hesitant or nervous feel the same way.
Okay, so one more slide of pep talk. You got this. You're most likely already incorporating elements of the digital literacy framework, whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. You're probably doing it if you're using any sort of technology. Because this is not technology just for technology's sake. It's about enhancing the instruction that you are already planning on doing. So the elements are easily integrated into instruction. And again, it's what you're already planning to teach. You don't need to do separate direct lessons on the technology itself. You just find ways to incorporate it into what you're already doing. You'll see as we go along that most of the elements naturally overlap and support each other, which means that even if you're trying to focus on one element, you're probably also going to be incorporating multiple elements in one lesson without any extra prep work or really any extra thought. It's just going to naturally incorporate it. It's really hard to use a computer without turning it on. So if you were planning on using it for productive, you're going to have some elements of civic and technical and probably some computational thinking on your path to get to that product. So again, it might seem overwhelming, but a lot of that stuff is really just going to connect together and flow really well without you even having to do anything. And again, like to throw it back to the instructor implementation guide, if you're feeling stuck, what does a communicative lesson plan look like? There are some examples in there, and it's really just a jumping off point because there's just so many different ways you could implement the framework. But the instructor implementation guide is a great place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed or stumped. Or our presentation tonight, hopefully you'll leave with some really exciting ideas for your classroom.
And you always have the Wakelet to go back to also. If you want a quick idea, you can click on one of those Wakelet links that you're interested in.
Okay, so the rest of the evening works like this. We're going to take a second just to briefly overview each element. And then Steph and I are going to share some ideas that we've done. And then we want to hear from you, either things that you have done with that element or just ideas that popped into your head. It's like a big old cookie swap tonight for ideas for tech integration lessons. So starting with technical, it's the most basic probably of all 7. It's the physical navigation and operation of digital tools, structures, and conventions. So this is knowing the parts of the computer, turning it on and off, using a mouse pad, a trackpad, a touch screen, fixing things or figuring things out when they don't work, things like that.
So I'm going to bring it back to when you were coming in. Some of you may have been able to get to the activity that I dropped the link for and that Ellen dropped the link for, the Draw a Stick Man. So if you were able to get to that activity, you noticed that you were doing some technical skills. So first you had to click on a URL link to get to a website. You could even go further back. You had to turn on your computer, connect to the meeting. But then once you got there, it's a really fun, engaging way for students to practice mouse skills and trackpad skills. As Jen had mentioned earlier, we had a student that was great on her cell phone, but she had a really hard time using the laptop trackpad. This would be a perfect activity for someone like her. And it doesn't feel like a chore, like they have to learn a lot. Another one we liked were tech races. I recently had students starting to use iPads and they were becoming a little slow with getting onto the iPads. So I started having tech races. Who could be the first person to get onto our meeting for class, our WebEx meeting? And it also was a way to do an informal observation. I was able to see where the students were getting stuck. Like they put the meeting ID in, the password in, but then they would forget to hit the join button. Or maybe they scheduled their own meeting instead of joining mine. So it was a good informal observation and the students were engaged because of the competition to it.
Another tool we'd recommend is the North Star assessments. There's a variety of different tests on different topics within digital literacy, but there's a basic skills one. And I think that's a great place to start, especially at the beginning of a semester, to sort of get a feel for where your students are and where they need to be ready for class or just to improve their skills. We've also used it with our instructors. Just so that they can, they take some of the different assessments so they see what they're like and they can give them to their students, but also to reflect on their own digital literacy skills. They're free. You can collect like badges. It gives you your score and tells you where you need to improve or where you missed questions. And the questions are really good because they're authentic. What you're looking at is very, very similar, if not exactly the same as an actual computer screen. So I'd highly recommend you check that out. And again, on the Wakelet. On the Wakelet.
So this was another one I've used and I thought would be really helpful, especially in the GED classes as your students are preparing for community college, university. This is file conversion. So we use Zamzar, and Jen made a really good point during one of our conversations that there are a lot of sites like this out there. Be careful which ones you choose because you're downloading things to your computer. You are allowing them to give you something to download. So this one is a vetted one. It's been around for a while. I wish I had had it when I was in university, but it's a really convenient thing. You can change a PDF to a JPEG to a Word doc, and really simple to use. So that would make a good lesson, a good technical lesson for some of your more advanced students or students that have plans to go work in an office, go to college.
Okay, let's chat. So which technical skills are you finding you need to teach maybe directly? They don't necessarily work into a lesson plan, but students need them outright.
And think about online classes too. So when we had to make the switch to online classes, and I know a lot of those are still happening, what are some of those technical skills that you had to teach students in order to make them be able to have online classes? And I know some of us, it was a scramble to teach them as quickly as we could.
But not a lot of warning. Oh, how to use a camera.
Yeah, that's good. Now, is that, so I guess you could also do a digital camera and how to use your camera on your phone and upload photos. So that could be a fun project too. It's like teaching how to use a camera.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to do that too. Logging into email, yes.
How to connect.
Share. Okay. Oh, a split screen. That's a good one to teach them. And how share screen. I had to teach that one also. Yep, share screen presentation. Good. Really great answers, guys. Thank you.
Okay, and then what technical lesson ideas or tips can you share with us? Technical is one that sort of naturally just shows up in all of the technology lessons, but we'd love to hear if you have some lesson ideas or even just quick tips that you've used in your classroom. How to use the chat box.
Mine was, I had to teach mine how to mute and unmute because I realized I had been doing it for them without thinking for so long. And I said, well, that is a great chance for me to teach that skill. And it's been a lot better. So rename themselves. That's a really good one. Oh, man, I'm going to have to start keeping my own list over here. These are really good ones.
This session is being recorded.
Yeah, I will be watching it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good ones, guys. Thank you.
Okay, if you are typing right now, please keep typing. We realize that some of these lesson plan ideas are going to take a second to type out. And please, if we move on, please don't give up, keep typing, and we will happily circle back to any technical lesson plan ideas that you are typing right now. We don't want to leave you behind, but we don't want you to quit either. Stay with us.
Yeah, that goes throughout. Just keep typing.
Yes.
We're here for the
cut you off.
ideas.
Ooh, see, look, somebody first
pin
here. Who was it?
themselves.
How to pin themselves.
That-
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in a Zoom meeting, they
Amherst
get
or
stuck
Keeper.
on.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I got stuck on just watching the speaker, and I thought, like, this would be much better if she had like a PowerPoint, and like lo and behold, she did. I was just stuck on her, and I was like,
See, it
oh
happens
man.
to all of us. Exactly.
Okay, it's not just me. That's good. Okay, so Civic is using digital tools safely, effectively, and appropriately. So this is becoming safe and responsible digital citizens, knowing how to behave online in online forums, social media, using Netiquette or online etiquette, but also protecting themselves from identity theft, safe passwords, knowing where to go online and understanding your digital footprint and the permanence of some of the things that you put online. So all those make up Civic.
So one that I really liked was the password safety evaluations. And I am going to drop that little link just in case somebody's looking as we go. So this is a little game that students can play, and it's good for all ages. I played it for a long time. And you do a password game. It's teaching you how to make a safe password. So it teaches the students, like, you know, include a weird word, include numbers, and then you mix it up, and then you add this symbol. So it takes them step by step, and it teaches them why it's important, but it's also very engaging.
There has been no shortage of current event articles, let's say, of people posting things online or doing things online and then suffering real world consequences, because freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences for what you say. So there's, unfortunately, I guess, a lot of examples that you could use with your students to debate, discuss. You could read the articles. They could write opinion pieces, because unfortunately, it seems like at least once a week, we have somebody doing something online that has impacts on their personal or professional lives, which is a good lesson to us all, especially those that are seeking to, you know, get new jobs, but also just a good lesson in life in general, and plenty of opinions to discuss and write about.
And it is particularly important, I think, for some of our ESL students too, who may not have ever considered that or been exposed to something like that. So it is something, and our GED, ABE learners too, who maybe come from a younger generation where it's a little bit different. So
yeah,
definitely.
I mean, there was a
important.
time when somebody looking at somebody's social media before hiring them seemed like absurd, but I that happens on a regular basis now, I'm sure. So yeah, the times have changed. We'll adapt with that. And on that stuff.
So this was one I really loved. This Mozilla, like Mozilla Firefox, the company, they made, and I am going to drop that link in the chat box, but again, it's on the Wakelet. So this is an online safety course, and it has all of the materials you need. They have online and offline activities. Students will work independently and in small groups. And you can see here that it has defining privacy, and then the students go through and evaluate their own privacy, wrap up in reflection, like what they'll change in the future. So this is a really effective lesson that can use with your students, and it's really a lot of low prep time because they did a lot of the work for you, and it's really practical and important. Perfect for this element.
Okay, so in the chat, what are your Netiquette pet peeves?
So like, what is something someone does online that drives you crazy? And hopefully it's not anything we're doing right now.
I was gonna.
But we will adjust. If there's anything you'd like to share.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, chewing loudly with their speaker.
Oh, that drives me crazy too. Those are good ones.
The camera.
I do, yes. I used to teach students in China online. I've had students take me on like motorbikes throughout cities, and I'm just like, guys, I can't help. So definitely feel you on that one. Good. Mine is all caps. Like when the students text me, it's just all capital letters. Like, let's talk about this. Yeah, let's talk. So thank you for sharing. Those are some really good ones. I think we can relate to those very much.
And then if you haven't already explained, what rules of Netiquette have you taught your students, or do you have any other civic lesson ideas that you can share with us? And again, if we move on without you, keep typing, we'll come back. Oh, not trusting appropriately.
That's a really good one. If you have a student that just doesn't know, it might be something you have to tell them explicitly. That's a really, really good point. Yeah, so I know there was a couple of people who said they loved Civic best. So what do you love best about Civic? And yes, tell us, what do you do about it?
Oh, that's good.
Yes, appropriate language for sure.
Does anyone have any good internet safety lesson ideas?
And again, there are more. I feel like a lot of Civic, there are a lot of practical ideas, and it's very straightforward almost. To me, Civic is, explicit instruction, like technical. Like, there's no way to just not say, this is what we have to wear to be appropriate in class, or we can't use this language. I think even with adults,
it's something that you have to model as the instructor, right? When it comes to how you can conduct yourself online.
That's very true. That's a really good one for Civic. And like, I would really love to hear everyone's idea on this, because I have some of those students as well. So how do you encourage those students to give other people a chance? Like, what is something you do? Yeah, exactly. I always love to start with a positive, like, you're doing a great job. I love that. Appreciate your enthusiasm. So really nice.
Well, I like Stephanie does this thing where she will start with one student and then they call on each other in like a sequence. So you're guaranteeing everyone a spot in the line too. So that's a.
Yep, Rosetta, I do that too. I do. Yep, I do both that too, Tori. I've said both of those.
I'll say, Tori, I might use that one tonight. That's going to come up.
That's really good.
Love it.
Call on
awesome.
specific students.
Okay, so this sort of flows right into communicative. I think some of those same things are going to come up here. It's sharing ideas clearly, effectively, and creatively with different audiences following digital communication protocols. So a lot of those civic elements sort of lend themselves to this element as well. You see using Netiquette again in online communication, but also what is the appropriate tool for the message I'm trying to convey? What is the appropriate platform, whether it's like social media or a forum, a digital product, an email. So figuring out which of the tools are best to serve my message, and then making those choices based on not only the content that I'm trying to convey, but also the intended audience. An email to a boss is very different than a personal social media post, and the skills and the language required for those varies depending on your goal.
So there's a few ideas for communicative. You could have, Google Classroom. Maybe you could have an online class discussion forum where people can respond to each other, ask questions. We will be discussing the email activity and the answer gardens. We're just going to hop right onto that. So this was one of the most popular activities I've done with students. They had a really good time doing this one, and they were very appreciative of how practical it was. It's something they're always asking me. Again, I teach ESL, so my students are always asking me, how can I be polite when I'm writing? Or how can I choose polite words when I'm speaking to a boss? So we did formal versus informal email activities. This is all from the platform we use called Burlington English, but I included a lot of other links in our Wakelet. It's a very adaptable activity for your classroom. So here the students brainstormed formal versus informal openings, formal versus informal closings. And then we as a class actually wrote an email to Jen and did a formal email to her. And then we wrote one to another classmate as an informal email. So we had a little bit of a productive at the end, but this one went over very well. It was explicit instruction, modeling, but then they got to produce something at the end too.
And I had to up my response game. It was such a beautifully professionally written email. Stephanie and I are obviously, a little bit more casual. We've been working together a long time now, but man, I got the most professional, stellar email from her entire class. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I need to work on my response
I
game
made
here.
sure to give her a warning beforehand that this was not just from me, like it's from the class, don't worry.
They did a great job. Great job. Okay, so we are going to check out Answer Garden. So Stephanie has the link for you in the chat box to try it out. And the question is, well, let me get over there.
Yeah, so if you could please click the link in the chat box, it'll take you to the Answer Garden. And so this one, Answer Garden, and the reason we chose this too is it's something you could use in class for digital literacy where your students could collaborate and they could answer questions. The teacher gets to write the question and then the students type in the answer, and they can do it with a link. They can do it on their phone, iPad. So once you get to the Answer Garden, if you could please type in an answer and hit submit. And going back to what we were saying about being appropriate, I trust all of you, but like PG-13 is good. So things
PG.
that you shouldn't say. Jen says PG, but
Very sensitive.
yeah. Jen's a mom, so I think that's a mom and Jen. So this one, what are some things you shouldn't say in a professional email? So you definitely shouldn't say, I hate you. Sup, bro is a good one. So this is also a good chance if you have some students for them to practice like their slang too, or even things that they're not sure about is like, could I say this one? Hey is a good one. That's true. LOL. That's good too. Yo.
Yeah.
Though I'm going to say, if someone wrote me an email, I'm pooped, can I go home? I'd be like, thank you for your honesty. You go. You just get out of here. But that's a really good answer.
I don't know. I don't know if we could call that professional though.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you shouldn't say it. Love the honesty.
So Answer Garden is a good word cloud generator in that it lets you keep phrases together, and not all of them do. So we like it for that sometimes. We need to refresh.
And it's really good when you're in the classroom too, because as the students see the answers come up, they maybe get a little bit more inspired and
Mhm.
say, just make sure they know beforehand to keep it appropriate.
Yeah, you got to know your students on this one. Yeah.
Good, really
There's
good
also
ones.
something a little bit thrilling about seeing your answer show up in the answer garden.
I know, it is fun. It's like, oh, mine's there.
Thank you for your response. What's up?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating and showing. So Answer Garden is a really good tool you could use in the classroom too. And it's very low prep, but it gets the students more engaged, and it's a good way. I'm here.
Okay, did
I
was the mess? Did I freeze or did you?
No, my internet went crazy. So
Oh,
perfect
no.
for a digital literacy presentation.
Good technical troubleshooting there. So, okay, I was just, yeah. Okay, I'm glad you're back.
I went to the backup Wi-Fi, so don't worry.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. But if you wouldn't mind, in the chat box, how do you teach students to communicate to different audiences? So what lessons have you done? What little tips have you tried to help them with differentiating between like a social media post, a professional email, or a personal text? And then if this question is not for you, we'd also love to hear any of the other communicative like tips, lesson ideas, tricks that you'd like to share with us.
So this is, I feel, particularly important for our students as we prepare them to go into the workplace or prepare them for university, how they can communicate with their professors, their bosses. And remember, take your time writing out. If it comes in later, great. We're going to have time throughout this to get your ideas. We're here for you guys, for you. And if you've done something like the email post, like activity, if you've done something like that, like informal versus formal, how did you do it? How do you teach about social media or communicative in your class?
I wish we had the 3 dots so we could see if people are writing.
I know, that's right.
Okay, if you're typing, we want to hear what you have to say. Don't give up. Don't quit on us. Keep
typing,
going and
please.
send it through. But we're going to move on to so we make sure we have enough time to hit all 7. Our next.
Ooh, Deborah, thank you. Share different email. I love that
That
one.
is awesome.
That's a great one.
Thank you, Deborah.
Deborah shared that she had, the different email posts, and then students evaluate and rewrite for different audiences. That is awesome for written skills, really good for vocabulary skills. That is a great activity.
I feel like that would be great for ABE as well.
That's a really good one.
Thank you again, Deborah. That's awesome. Our next element is collaborative, which is connecting and working with others while using appropriate digital platforms and tools. This is the one that I would say has come the farthest thanks to COVID. I was just reflecting on the fact that a team meeting held completely online was not something that was even on my radar until COVID. And I remember the first time our admin team got all together on Zoom, we were like, whoa. But now it is such a regular part of our program, and it has helped our program in so many ways to be more collaborative, but working as a team to complete a task, right? You're solving problems, you're taking everybody's points of view into consideration, and you're using the different tools that are out there to just engage in that team process, where you have your personal accountability for your contributions, but you're also considering the good of the group.
I also want to time out for Ramona's because I love this idea. Thank you for typing that out. Have students bring in situations that they've encountered, a letter from a landlord, email from the principal, and practice writing a response.
Oh, I love that.
Definitely. I've done that with my students before too, especially with the one writing about the landlord. So that's a really good one. And students love, and they're definitely more engaged when we give them that practical stuff that they're going to take right out into the real world to use.
And
Thank you
sometimes
for
they bring up
sharing,
stuff that
Ramona.
we wouldn't have even thought of. Like we in our program work so much with like cover letters or resumes and things like that. And we had a student she came to me and she said, you know, I got a new job, which was great, but she said, I need to write a letter of resignation from my old job. And like, we'd focused so much on getting her the new job that we forgot, okay, there's some professional writing. So that was another thing that we added to our list, you know, was writing that. But yeah, bringing in what's most, you know, current to them is a great way to increase engagement and also address all those things. Thank you, Ramona.
Okay, so some ideas for collaborative. We have a Jamboard for you, so I won't go too much on that. One thing I really like to do, if you have a Zoom class or an online class, you can use breakout rooms, have students separate into different rooms to work on a project together, a presentation together, then come back and join everyone. And it can also, if you have students of mixed abilities, you could also, you know, help them in that way. The way you pair them.
Another one that's huge for collaborative are live documents. So if your program has Office 365, access to Office 365, or if they don't, Google has much of the same sort of things. But having a document where I can be at home and Stephanie can be at home and we can work on the same document live at the same time, it opens so many doors to so many different types of projects and products. And so highly recommend if your students aren't comfortable with those, it can be a bit of an investment, but once they get the hang of it, man, there's just so much that you can do. It's almost limitless, the possibilities once they feel comfortable with those tools. So highly recommend.
Oh, Deborah, what is an escape room? I swear we did not. She is not a plant. Thank you, Deborah. That was such perfect timing. So this is the escape room. This is just one example. We got this from Teachers Pay Teachers, and we put the @ So if you're interested in Edgar Allan Poe, because this is Maryland VTI, so if you're interested in Poe, this is a Telltale Heart escape room. The students work together online. So for this one, you can see here, like first they had to go to Google Earth. They had to open Google Earth, go to certain coordinates of longitude and latitude, go to like the street view, they would find the answer to something. Okay, then they had to go to WikiHow, learn how to solve the cryptogram. They had to solve the cryptogram, which took them to a PDF file. It's excellent. So, and the work's done for you. So it's Teachers Pay Teachers. It hits on a lot of the digital literacy framework skills. The engagement is really great. It could be good to teach content. So if you're doing a lit and you're doing Edgar Allan Poe, if you're doing Telltale Heart, this would be perfect for it.
Yeah, and there's lots of free ones out there, but they're also clicking through the images, looking for links and clues, and they have them on all different types of
and all different
content,
levels too. So this
yeah.
one is definitely a higher level. It would be better for like ABE, GED, but there's a lot of ESL ones and some free ones too online. So it's basically like the escape room in person, but just an online version.
Okay, so in just a minute, we're going to head over to our Jamboard, and Steph will have the link in the chat. But we also have a QR code if you want to do it from your phone. Just a quick word about QR codes. More and more platforms seem to be incorporating a QR code generator feature into a lot of them. Like Wakelet will generate a QR code if you want to share your Wakelet. But if you ever come across a site that you want to share via a QR code and it doesn't have that feature, we've been using Flowcode. You just put in the URL and it has a couple of fun free features. They haven't upgraded like plan if you want to pay for it, which we don't. But the free one has a couple of fun features to generate it. So just a quick shout out there if you ever wanted to try it. Office 365
also on the Wakelet.
So yeah, okay.
It's on the Wakelet.
And so over on our Jamboard, we have two frames. The first is about the tools that you currently use. And then instead of just keeping everything in the chat, we thought we would do something a little differently. So if you have a fun collaborative lesson plan idea, there's a second frame for that over on the Jamboard.
So I put the link in the chat box, but again, you can scan this with your camera. We are about to hop on over. So again, link in the chat box. Okay, so when you get here, oh good, I see a lot of you up there. I love It just tickles me. They give you a little anonymous animal. So, I mean, for some of your students, that might be fun to talk about too. Good chance for vocabulary.
Anonymous chameleon.
Ooh. So when you go over to the Jamboard, we're going to ask you to please make a sticky note. So Jen will model that now. It's the fourth one down. You will make it any color you like, type your name on it, save, and then please move your name to any of the collaborative tools you've used. So Jen has used 365, we've used Wakelet together, Jamboard together. We got Wakelet. So if you're on Jamboard, you're going to make a sticky note. It's the fourth one down. Click that. It'll give you a chance to type your name. It said it's view only. Well, that would be why no one is. Oh, let me see if I can change it. Yeah, that's strange. On mine, it's showing that let's try again. Let me drop the link again. Yeah, mine's showing as anyone. Yeah, I sent the link again. You may have to re-click it because yeah, mine's anyone with the link can view. So try to click the link in the chat box. That might help you. And yeah, we'll refresh it as well. And I do want to say, I've had something similar happen in class before when I prepared this amazing Jamboard. And for some reason, I couldn't figure it out. I had it on the right settings that I know of, and we've used it before. It just was not working. Yeah, see, mine says anyone. Jen, does yours say anyone can see it?
Yeah, it says anyone with the link, but I'm wondering.
Yeah. There says view only at the top.
Okay, one more time.
Let's try now.
Try again.
Yes, try again, please. I'll give you the link again. Let's see. And we apologize. Thank you for your patience.
Success.
But if you, yay, good, thank you. So if you have something like this happen in class and like you can't figure out what's going on there, Jamboard's also really great to use as a collage so that the students can talk about it and you can still model. Yay, Deborah, thank you. Thanks guys for sticking it out with us. Good. Good. And if anyone's interested, you can also chat, like put your answers in the chat box. That's okay too. So if you see it on the screen and you just want to put it in the chat box, that's okay too. Still digital literacy. But I really appreciate everyone making the sticky. Office 365. We were thinking that one would be pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to have them do the collaborative in the chat box?
Sure.
Yes, so sometimes it depends on their settings on their phone and if they have the app or not, it might help. There are similar platforms. So one we're going to use in a little bit is going to be Menti. That's more of a brainstorming, so they don't really see the pictures. But I'll think on it if there's, and we're going to have our emails at the end. But if anyone else, because, you know, we're swapping back and forth, if anyone else has any other similar platforms, that's better to use on phones. That's a question we got in the chat box. That's a good question. We have a few other platforms like sharing out platforms. on the Wakelet, but I'll think more specifically on that. And again, our emails will be at the end too, so we can bounce ideas back off each other.
Okay, Steph, so do you
Good.
just want to do this in the chat box rather than?
Yeah,
here?
so
Okay.
if anyone has a lesson in which they did digital tools for collaboration, because I don't want to keep you guys too long, we have 10 minutes left. So any collaboration ideas, if you could just type those in the chat box for us, like what collaborative lesson plan ideas do you have? And which tools have you used? So if you have a great idea for a Wakelet, great idea for how you use Jamboard, we want to hear it.
Okay, once again, please don't give up on us. We love your ideas, but I am going to keep going because it would break my heart if we didn't get into all 7. So I'll just talk faster. So computational thinking is using critical thinking and problem solving skills in conjunction with technology to gather data, analyze information, and find a solution. So this is taking a task and breaking it down into smaller pieces, focusing on the main ideas and coming up with a step-by-step process to arrive at your solution. So Steph has a couple of quick ideas on that.
So we've done a class schedule where I'll pull up the Apple schedule or have them download some calendar app, and we make a class schedule with the class time, with holiday breaks, with their birthdays each month. And then I show them how to add on things. For my online class, we did it together where we added on homework, due dates, and study time. And that was really effective actually for making them be a little bit more on time with their homework. I put some science simulations on our Wakelet, science and physics simulations, like digital manipulation of parts of a cell, and students can work together to put the pieces of the whole. So if you're more of a content teacher, those might be of interest to you. Okay, another one we do in class, and I'll drop this link, but again, all on the Wakelet, is creating a personal budget. And if some students were uncomfortable with sharing their actual information, I allowed them to make it up. So this was just a great way for them to break up and see how their money was going. We tied it into with a unit on pay stubs and gross and net pay, deductions, all that.
Awesome. I should have been there for that class. For the sake of time, do you want to just skip to the last one?
Yeah.
Does that make you sad?
It does, but we'll be okay.
We'll
save it for June.
We were gonna brainstorm. We were gonna put a bunch of cities that you chose on the wheel of names, which I'm sure is on the Wakelet, but I can also show you if you want. But we were gonna brainstorm a list of questions that you would need to answer to make that trip happen. Sort of take the idea of the trip and then break it down into smaller topics. But if you have any ways that you've incorporated computational thinking into your instruction, we'd love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, so budgeting is always a fun one. We did it with Black Friday shopping recently. Like Jen said, budgeting for a trip is always fun, budgeting for planning a party. So if you've done anything in those, any other type of computational thinking, keep typing
Even
to us,
breaking
please.
down the steps to solve an equation can sort of work itself into this one as well. So it doesn't need to be a big a big project. It could be breaking down something as
Planning
small
a birthday party. Yes, I love
Yes.
planning a party lessons. They're one of my
That
favorites.
sounds like fun.
It's funny because I don't really like to have parties in real life. I just like to plan the fake ones in class.
I like
together.
to plan them.
Exactly.
Introverts. Okay, so if you're
moving on to
typing
my
your awesome
favorite.
computational thinking plans, please keep typing.
Yes, we
But
love
we're
to hear
gonna
them.
keep going. Second to last is Stephanie's favorite, the investigative one, which is searching, identifying, and validating reliable and authentic digital resources. So it's not only finding information online that your students need, but being able to be confident that it is correct and valid and authentic information, which has become more and more complicated as the internet evolves. So identifying credible sources and using those critical thinking skills to assess whether or not the information that they are gathering is correct.
Okay, so there's a couple ways to do this. One, you could do comparing sale prices. So if students ask students what they need to buy, we did this on a unit in shopping. Student wanted to buy a TV. So we compare the TV, the prices, specifications between one at Best Buy and one at Amazon, or one at Walmart and one at Target. So it's a very practical thing that they're going to have to use in their life, a skill. But grocery shopping is good for computational thinking too. That was a good one. And we also have online scavenger hunts, one of my favorites. So in the Wakelet, I included a really great database for free pre-made online scavenger hunts for all different age groups and different topics, but you can also make your own based on your students. So an online scavenger hunt, the students follow specific links and they have to find information from that webpage to complete an activity or to answer questions.
Okay, so Stephanie was going to make you guys do a research race and we were going to see who won, but we're going to skip over that. And then we'd love to hear any ideas that you guys have for the investigative element, whether it's validating websites or how they search tools.
And if anyone has done a research race, so I'll do research races in class often too, if I have a students like that are just like, you know, Monday morning students. And I ask them a question and they're like, oh, and I'm like, who can tell me the fastest? That little spur of competition, they're on their phones trying to find the information the fastest. And some will find the wrong answer. And that's when we talk about like the validity. So it's a fun, engaging way. What is the tree octopus?
Yeah. Yep, the tree octopus or dihydrogen oxide. There's
oh, like you were telling me
yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
like the fake
that's
news sites and like they have to figure out if it's a hoax or not.
Yeah.
Those are really fun. So see, investigative, it's not just dry library, like it can be really engaging and fun, super practical skill for all learners.
And also every student has something that they want to learn more about. And so we can open those doors for them with just a couple of the basic search skills and the different search engines. Okay.
Yeah, so
again, if you're still typing,
any ideas you have, please keep typing to them. We made it to the last one. Thank you all for sticking with us. Yay. Jen's favorite.
My favorite. So the last element that we're going to talk about tonight is the productive element, which is creating content and or products through the use of digital tools. And it actually breaks down into two different sections. The first being curation. So as the teacher or as students going through and finding the resources that you need for a particular project and curating that collection counts as productive. So you, in that case, your product is really just the collection. You're not making any of the resources. You're simply, screening them for what you need and whether they're appropriate and valid, and then bringing them together. But then also what people tend to think of with productive, which is the making of digital products with a specific purpose in mind, a specific audience. So that could be a flyer, a business card, a resume, a Word document, endless possibilities there, but making those digital products.
I also want to quickly talk about Anna's idea where she said, investigative, find their representative from House of Representatives. Oh, that is such a good idea. And then you could do communicative and like investigative where they choose an issue, maybe to write an email to their House or their representative. That's a great one, Anna, very good. Short PowerPoint presentations, always a great idea. Thank you. That is a good one, especially if it's a topic they're really interested in too.
Yeah. And if your students aren't quite ready for that, you could do the class one where everybody contributes their own slide that builds to the whole. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done class ones before, and also party invites are a really fun one. I know Ramona had mentioned planning a birthday party. So after you do the budget, computational thinking, then they can design the party invite online.
This is Sharon's recipe activity. Sharon is a wonderful instructor in our program, and I really wanted to share this activity that she did. Traditionally in our program, at the end of the semester, we get our students together for like a potluck dinner, and we play like ESL games and have conversations. They invite their families. A pre-COVID world, good memories. But they would always bring dishes from the holidays or from their home countries. And COVID, obviously, that is not a possibility. And so last year, around the holidays at the end of the semester, Sharon had her students bring in the recipes of something that they possibly would have made and taught them how to type them up and how to insert a picture. You can see she gave very specific requirements for the formatting so that she potentially has the makings of a class cookbook right here. She modeled with a couple of her own recipes, and just a really wonderful way to sort of honor the culture of the classroom and honor the traditions of our program when we really didn't have the ability to do so. So an excellent way to make lemonade out of lemons. Thank you, Sharon. We love this one.
Yes, and we are not going to keep you long. So I am actually I am dropping our emails in the chat box right now. if you would like to share any more, and if you want to share out, our Jamboard is going to be on the Wakelet. So anything, if you have ideas you didn't get to share out, you could email them to us. I would be happy to add them to the Jamboard so everyone could see them in the future. Thank
We
you
could add
for
a
all the
frame for each
ideas you
element.
did share. Yeah, like
Yes.
everyone, I have a little list. Like, I'm excited, I'm inspired. So thank you everyone for being here on a Tuesday night in December and for sharing.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Stephanie. What a fantastic session of putting the digital literacy framework to work in the classroom. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you. I echo their comments. Thank you for being here on a Tuesday evening. Two last points before I let you go. Remember, the recordings and any presenter materials will be available on the Maryland Virtual Training Institute website. You're just going to have to give us a couple weeks to make sure everything is tip-top shape for you. Also, proof of participation, we are doing that at the end of the week. So we will pop the link into the last day sessions. We will also include it in the virtual training website and email it out to participants of all of the sessions so that you can track your sessions through the week, and we will make sure that you get your proof of participation that you need at the end. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Stephanie. What a great session. Thank you again. We cannot do this without your support. So
thank you,
everyone, we've got a full day of sessions again tomorrow, day 3. I hope to see you starting at 10 o'clock. So have a great night. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you.